Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, Kelly Klass and Jill Skeen.
Well, good morning and welcome to Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call. And good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
Well, it was a little on the chilly side this morning. It's 12 right now. It was 8 when I came to work.
Oh, so I might be able to take off one of my two sweaters.
Well,
I can never just wear one sweater, I'll have you know.
Yeah.
It has to be two.
Thank goodness the wind isn't blowing, or it would be a lot colder.
Misery. It was cold this weekend.
Even when it's like in the single digits, if the wind isn't blowing, it's not bad. I mean,
no,
it's
as long as you dress for it. I mean, as long as you dress for it. And, you know, you just have to dress for it and be happy and wear gloves and thermal underwear and a jacket.
But riding your motorcycle, you know, it can get a little chilly because I don't have a motorcycle to ride. But I mean, I can just
Would
imagine.
people ride in this weather?
Oh, heavens, yes.
Would you just freeze and
actually
just chisel you off when you get to your destination?
Some of them have heaters that
wow.
blow back on you. So hey, this is not. As long as the roads are clear, that's all you need. But you hit an icy spot and you could be in trouble.
Well, my car, we had our lunch Friday.
Yes, we did. Had another great time with Jim and Frank Winsveen.
That's right. It was a lot of fun. Food was great.
Yes, it was.
What did you have again? Now I forgot. I usually focus on what you had. Oh, you had the salmon.
The salmon, yes.
And Jim had the salmon. Frank had an elk burger, and they have my special little veggie burgers for me. But it was really nice. And when we left, the canyon was just, you couldn't even see. It was just filled with condensation. Yeah. And then my car died. So when we get back to the station,
that's right.
3 lovely, wonderful men to jump it, and so I got a new battery. Got my tie rods fixed. I feel very secure. New tires feel very secure in my 13-year-old car.
Cool. There you go. See, it's just like keep putting on new parts.
One of my sway bars were off, but whatever. More. I said to Tom, soon it's going to be a new car.
Yeah.
And I
no
like
payments.
it. And believe me, no payments is the best part. But I love my car. Tom will always say, we need to get you a new car. I said, no, I don't want a new car. I love my car.
Yeah.
I love my car.
You know, I came to that understanding with myself several years ago, thinking, you know, I don't have to have a new car every 3 years. All I need is something reliable to get me from point A to point B.
You used to have a new car every 3 years?
Just about, yeah.
Oh, you're kidding me.
And then finally you think, you get one paid off and you think, wow, this is nice. And then to go and start making payments again, it's miserable.
No, I've always driven my cars a long time, but I don't keep it because of the no payments. I keep it because I actually really like my car.
Yeah.
My Ford Escape. And apparently a lot of people like Ford Escapes too. But
well, there you go.
Anyway, now I feel much more secure.
Good. I'm glad. Nothing worse than an insecure Jill, you know?
Well, when your car dies, thank goodness you guys are still around.
Yeah, you might have been still waiting out in the
parking lot. I would have had to call Tom. He'd be like, what now?
Hey, coming up, we're going to be talking to Randy Staples with the Idaho Political Update at 8:40. At 9 o'clock, Tom Munns is the state coordinator for the John Birch Society, and they're having an event in Twin Falls tomorrow to talk about some of these trade agreements and some of the downsides to them. So he'll be talking about that at 9 o'clock this morning. It's kind of an eventful weekend.
Yeah.
County Sheriff's Department, Twin Falls County Sheriff, still investigating the deaths of 3 people in Twin Falls County, just kind of out by the airport, actually. The incident's being investigated as a double homicide and a suicide.
So awful.
So.
And I guess she worked at Elevation.
Leanne Schuldes, I believe is the way the name is pronounced, 38 years old, and her 17-year-old daughter were killed allegedly by a 36-year-old George Salinas of Twin Falls. Looked like a murder-suicide.
And they've been living together, 12 years or something? They've been together? And it's just awful. You know, if you got an issue, deal with it. Leave. Do whatever. Do something. Why must you kill and a 17-year-old? I mean, why? I don't understand that. I just don't.
I don't either. Something must snap in their heads or something, but...
And you think you can trust someone like that after all those time together? You know what I mean? Yeah. And you think that would be the last thing, but it happens every day in our country. You know, domestic violence is horrible.
Yep. I don't know. how do you comment on something like that? It's just a horrible thing, and
I don't know. It's just so sad and tragic, and
I did not know them, but even at that.
But then the kids, I think she went to Canyon Ridge, and I think they're gonna try to have to deal with it. Your classmate gets shot.
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh.
I know.
People at elevation. So anyway, awful over the weekend.
It's not the little old innocent Twin Falls. Of course, hasn't been for quite some time.
I know it's changed even since I've been here.
As we approach the 50,000 mark. The NFL had some news over the weekend. Apparently, the federal drug agents conducted some surprise inspections of the NFL.
Drug bus.
Hello. We want to check your bag, please.
And please urinate in this cup.
I don't know. Did they go to that?
Well, I think those guys are drug tested anyway, aren't they? I think the NFL is. I know baseball is.
I guess.
So sometimes I think golfers are. They surprise them and say, here. Lance Armstrong was surprised all the time. He should just be drinking water 24/7 because they're going to knock on his door for a urine test.
Yeah, they probably don't do that anymore.
Not for Lance.
Yeah, not for Lance. Anyway, there were surprise inspections of the National Football League team medical staff Sunday as part of an ongoing investigation into prescription drug abuse in the league. The inspections, which entailed bag searches and questioning of team doctors by Drug Enforcement Administration agents, were based on the suspicion that NFL teams dispense drugs illegally to keep players on the field in violation of the Controlled Substances Act. Oh, I find that hard to believe.
Shocking.
Yes, come on.
They're like racehorses, Sad.
That would never happen. The medical staffs were part of travel parties whose teams were playing at stadiums across the country. The law enforcement official says DEA agents working in cooperation with the Transportation Security Administration inspected multiple teams but would not specify which ones were inspected or where. The 49ers confirmed they were inspected by federal agents following their game against the New York Giants in New Jersey, but did not provide any details. The San Francisco 49ers organization was asked to participate in a random inspection with representatives from the DEA Sunday night at MetLife Stadium, according to the team spokesman. So, I don't know. Apparently, they nailed several of them. I don't know if they found anything or not.
Well, how many times do they go out, they hurt something, they give them a shot of cortisone or whatever, and then they send them back on the field? They don't care about the health of these guys. I mean, because a lot of them up until the last few years, when they were so, with all the concussions and when they were trying to deal with that, I mean, they would just send them out there. That's why many of the NFL players that have retired, a lot of them are having brain issues, memory issues.
I guess this was brought about by a class action suit of about 1,200 former players, from what I understand.
Yeah, well, think about it. And think about how many have ruined their body parts because they were injected, given a prescription pill to dull the pain, and then you just keep playing on something. And
but did they have the opportunity to say, no, I don't want those pills, I want to set out?
I don't know. And I don't know if the medical staff goes, oh, we just wrap it up. It's no problem. Let me give you a shot. Who knows? Who knows? But I think, you could lose half your team in a game.
Yeah, I suppose.
They could all be sitting out.
I suppose.
And then you're also, how objective are you as a player? You think about, you want to play, you're making tons of money.
Well, that's just it. I mean...
They're like, oh, my gosh, it's just a stub thumb.
Well, is this one of those things that they need to make a big deal out of? I mean, when we have illegal drugs on the streets that are killing innocent people, as opposed to something like this, when they are aware of what's going on, I mean,
well,
it's kind of like, what I'm saying is, I guess, is this just kind of part of the game?
Well, I hope not.
Should they just leave them alone?
It has been like that.
Let them take the pills.
But the pills, the most dangerous pills out there, the prescription drug pills. I mean, they're addicting people right and left. The OxyContin and everything else they're giving people. I mean, just because it's a prescription, it's supposed to be good for you. No, it's not. So, I mean, these people are like racehorses. Just wrap them up, give them a shot, and go out there.
736-0300 is the number. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly and Jill.
Good morning, Kyle. Are you warm?
Hey, I am right now.
Okay.
These people made a choice. and it is making a lot of money. And they're always making choices, and some of them are bad. But people are starting to make it sound like the owners are in there holding these people down, injecting them and kicking them in the butt and making them go back out there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the terminology, the way it's being presented is just outrageous. It takes two. I mean, the guy had to roll up his sleeve. He had to accept it.
They have to know what's going on.
Maybe money was involved, but it's still a choice. You make a choice, deal with the consequences. If you didn't want to have problems, say no. I mean, it's no different than a woman, isn't it? It's just a double standard again. Saying that this is that and that, but it's a choice. He didn't have to take the shot.
Yeah, see, that's kind of the way I look at it.
But sometimes when your doctors or medical staff, they're like, oh, no worries, we'll just da-da-da-da-da. But you see it in college football. I know the Michigan coach got in huge hot water when that quarterback got hit so hard. He was dazed and confused on the field and did not pull him out. And I'm sorry, they don't use the best judgment. I mean, the guy, it was really sad to watch. And obviously, and then ended up having a concussion. But, people are like, no, I'm fine. That's when you need a third party to say you're not. And we're going to stop it. And we're not going to just inject you and let you go back into it. You need a third party to sit there and stop it. And that poor kid, if anyone saw that clip from the Michigan player, Kelly, it was awful. He sit so hard. He was holding on to his teammates, to try to orient himself for the next play. And they let him, continue to play. It was terrible to watch.
Couldn't he just have said, you know what, I can't play?
He could have, but when you're 19 or whatever and you're now already dazed and confused, the coach should, no matter how much you want to say, I want to stay in, you say no, you take him out. I mean, everyone in the stands saw it. The announcers were talking about that kid should be out off the field.
Did he take any drugs or anything?
I don't know what he took when he finally got off the field, which was after the next play.
That's kind of a different deal.
Then they do a concussion.
And you get hurt,
but
coach, give me a pill, I can go play.
My point is, are they asking for the pills, or is the medical staff saying, oh, don't worry, we'll just tape it up. Here, take this. Take it, it'll help with the pain, not knowing what the damage is.
736-0300, top story. You're on the air.
Good morning, Kelly and Jill.
Good morning.
I'm calling on behalf of the racehorse direction.
Yeah.
Jill keeps talking about taping them up and sending them out. I trained racehorses quite a few years, and we are very tightly regulated. And every horse in every race, at least the top two, are drug tested. And then the big ones, every horse in the finals is tested. And when I had a foal that was body sore or something, you might give him a little bute the morning after so he could sleep. And I never ran a horse that was on bute. And if you do, a lot of times you get in big-time trouble. You can lose your license over it.
But there's
some bad apples, no two ways around it.
Yeah, there have been in the past. That's what's probably made it
men
more stricter.
Who can make their own decisions here. Go ahead.
But sometimes you
Coach,
need a third party.
That, Coach. Give me that shot. Give me that pill. I can go play, Coach. I can go play.
I don't think that's what's happening.
736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And, the chilly weather now, you're probably wondering if you're going to have enough firewood to get you through the winter.
Or enough sweaters.
Enough sweaters,
enough blankets, enough gloves.
Well, let's concentrate on firewood for just a moment.
Firewood would be nice.
Because you can't knit a sweater with a chainsaw, but you can cut firewood with a chainsaw. And they've got them at Clearwater Power Equipment in Twin Falls. They've got the Husqvarna and the Echo chainsaws. And I'll tell you what, they service them, they sell them, they have parts. They are your one-stop shop. They've got answers to all of your questions. You need to stop by Clearwater Power Equipment at 252 Washington Street in Twin, 734-7767. Tell them that Kelly and Jill sent you. One of our fine sponsors of Top Story, Clearwater Power Equipment, now expanded to the Twin Falls area.
Now I just need a fireplace.
Yeah, that's right.
That would help.
I've got a wood-burning stove, but it's out in my wood shop.
Tom used to have one, and he'd always like one, but
yeah,
fireplaces
are nice.
Yeah,
they really are.
Nice.
But they're work. You got to cut the firewood.
Oh yeah.
But it's made easier. These
with
don't have to do it with an axe anymore. You can do it with a chainsaw and a hydraulic splitter.
I know.
On the other hand, if you do it with an axe, then you don't have to go to the gym. So I guess it's a two-way street. Okay, so we're talking about this NFL situation. Apparently some of you have some opinions on this because we've got the phones ringing at 736-0300. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jill. Good morning, lovely Jill. I love your voice today, Jill. It sounds awesome.
My voice?
Yeah.
I don't know why. Thank you.
I don't know why either, but keep it up. Listen, they only get paid 16 times out of a year on a fixed. That's how they get paid. So if you say I can't play, there's always about 20 guys behind you ready to. So, hey, Jill, congratulations on Buckeyes over the Golden Gophers.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know we were going to pull that one out. We kept shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, but the game I advise you to watch this week, USC, UCLA, the rival, LA rival, it already started. People writing on the walls, SC rules LA, and they already painted with the baby blue, Tommy Trojan, so it's on.
Oh my. Oh my.
Watch that game. It's going to be awesome.
Well, good luck. There's nothing like college sports rivalry, really. It just is the best. It is. But anyway, it starts there. And you're right. The thing about it is you get hurt and someone comes in behind you. And that happened actually with the Patriots. Drew Bledsoe, he got hurt. And Tom Brady came in. It was after 2 games. He got hurt. They lost the first 2 games. Tom Brady won the next, and that was their first Super Bowl that they won. That's when I was living in Boston at the time. So, yeah, there's a factor in that as well, that someone could replace you and all of a sudden be a superstar. That's happening at Ohio State right now. Braxton Miller, their great quarterback, Big Ten Player of the Year.
But in the NFL,
got hurt. It's the same thing.
Okay, if you only get paid 16 times a year, people on Social Security in this country only get paid 12 times a year. But just when you do get paid, it's huge.
Right.
So many of those NFL players, they get more money for playing one game than most of us do for an entire year of work.
Right.
So if they miss a game because of health, it's not going to kill them.
Well, in essence, they only
continuing to play might kill them.
Continuing to play might kill them, but also their careers are only how many years long? I had a friend who played only 9 years in the NFL, and then you go on. Or some of them, a lot of the older players did not make the money they do today, and they didn't have the sponsorships they do today, and a lot of them, are barely making it. They don't have their minds. They can't stand up. They've got brain damage.
Well, apparently federal law prohibits anyone but a physician or a nurse practitioner from distributing prescription drugs, and they must meet myriad regulations for acquiring, storing, labeling, and transporting them. It is also illegal for a physician to distribute prescription drugs outside of his geographic area of practice, and it is illegal for trainers to dispense or even handle controlled substances in any way. DEA spokesman Rusty Payne confirmed the existence of the investigation and said it was triggered by a class action lawsuit filed in federal court in May by more than 1,300 retired NFL players. In the suit, they allege that NFL medical staffs regularly violate federal and state laws in plying their teams with powerful addictive narcotics such as Percocet and Percodan, sleeping pills such as Ambien, and the non-addictive painkiller Teradol to help them play through injuries on game days.
And think about it, probably a lot of them are addicted to it too. This is what happens. Prescription drugs are really highly OxyContin. You don't have to be on that stuff very long to be addicted. And then, your whole life goes downhill. But if they keep dispensing that stuff, knowing these guys are addicted now, it's sad. They should look at it. They should look at it if
Life
it's a big
in the
problem.
NFL.
Is that so? It's okay, just fine. Just pass out drugs and fine.
Hey, if they know what's going on and they want in anyway.
Well, it sounds like they're violating laws by doing it anywhere they want and just dispensing it like whenever.
But was it worth this when we've got more serious situations on the street? And
for them, they are
areas?
Serious.
So
you become an addict. What happens? You run out of money. You start stealing. Let me think. Or you break into pharmacies. We've had about 7 robberies right now. They're not going for
but you don't need a gun for
that. They're not
you
going
just need
for candy.
Just need a pencil and paper.
OxyContin. Yeah, that's
we'll
what
be
happening.
right back on Top Story, 736-0300. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And by the way, in the After 9:20, now at 9 o'clock, we'll talk to Tom Munns about some of the free trade agreements. He's with the John Birch Society. He'll be in Twin Falls tomorrow talking about them. At 9:20, we'll talk about President Obama. It looks like he is ready to sign an executive order on amnesty sometime this week, so we will get your opinion on that. Meanwhile, with the weather being the way it has, and we've been talking about the low and honey loader from Stanley and Company, how it loads all types of manure from liquid to frozen and dry. Well, this week it's probably going to be the frozen type. But if you want to see one of these in operation loading the frozen type of manure, then you get a hold of Pat Hartzell at 280-1167. He can set up an appointment so you can see this thing in operation. Now, again, as we've said, this low and honey loader is not for everybody. I wouldn't have any use for one. I have 1 acre, and I have 2 dogs and a cat, so I don't have any use for a low and honey loader. But with all the feedlots and dairy operations in this area, there's lots of use for the low and honey loader, and so you might be thinking of one of these, and if you are, get a hold of Pat. He can fix it up so you can see one actually in operation at 280-1167. That's better than watching one on YouTube,
I know.
So, although YouTube is an option, but not as good as seeing it up in real life person. Also, coming this Friday will be my retirement party.
Oh, Kelly class, and everyone is invited.
I want you to come. I beg you to come. Wouldn't it be embarrassing if they gave a retirement party for me and nobody came?
After 40 years in the business,
yes.
It would just be me and Brad and Nate and Kendra,
my wife and
Connie.
Kids will be there.
Yeah.
But they're going to be hors d'oeuvres and stuff. Starts at 5 o'clock, goes until 8 o'clock.
5 to 8.
Yeah.
I'll be there from 5 to 5:15. No, I'm kidding. She's seen your face.
But,
we'll be there the whole time, big guy.
I hope so.
Come out and say goodbye to Kelly.
I'm going to need support.
I bet you he cries.
Nah,
You're a softie.
No, I'm not.
You're a softie.
No. Takes a lot to make me cry.
Actually, not too much.
Like when I had a 401k and the market dropped, you could see me cry then.
Jeez. I say, anyone, come on out, Turf Club, 5 to 8, Friday night, this Friday. Just come for a little bit even. Come right after work if you have plans at night.
There's going to be food. There's going to be
There'll be
hors d'oeuvres.
food.
And it doesn't even cost anything to get in.
It's free.
See, now, Janice, our general manager, she said, we want this free. And I said, no, wait a minute, let's charge. There's a chance to make some money.
I'm there goes.
Not really, I'm
there
kidding.
goes my raise.
So, anyway,
please
Friday.
Come out and say goodbye to Cal.
A couple of months ago, we arranged this and think, oh, man, that is so far away. Now here it is only a week away.
I know. And how many days do you have left? Because I'm sure
I'm not counting.
You are too.
It's 45.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. December 31st, Kelly, last day.
Actually, it's like 44 days and 6 hours now.
But who's counting?
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, is if you want to enter lunch with Kelly and Jill, add up all your points, do whatever you can, because this will be the last lunch with Kelly and Jill at the Canyon Crest Event Center.
Yeah.
So, and limo rides. So play the word of the day, play the games, do whatever you can.
Yeah, build up those points.
Win.
Yeah, exactly.
And we will pick it. When are we picking it? December 1st.
Yeah. What is December 1st? That day will be, I don't know what day that is.
I'll look it up for you.
All right, thanks, Jill. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, our little comet rover Philae has run out of juice, I guess.
It has. It's a Monday, November 1st.
Monday, okay.
Yeah,
so Monday,
2 weeks
November
from
1st.
today.
December 1st, not November
December 1st. Can you believe that?
Yeah, wow.
2 weeks from today, December.
All right.
Yeah, little Philae couldn't get out of the little spot it was in and lost its charge.
That
is sad.
That is sad.
10 years.
Yeah. When you stop and think about it, they were working with 10-year-old technology and were able to do that.
Well, I mean, you hit it right on the head when it hit. It bounced 2 hours, somehow landed again on the comet, or bounced 6 minutes, and then fell into this thing.
Yeah, but that still was a resounding success.
Oh my gosh!
300 million miles away. The thing traveled over 4 billion miles.
I know.
To get there, 300 million miles away, and then lands on this little comet that's 2.5 miles across.
It's amazing.
300 million miles away.
Yeah.
I mean, that took rocket scientists to do that, and they did it.
I think it might have. I mean, but how exciting, but then again, you're like, oh my gosh.
I know, they were so elated when the thing landed, and it looked like things were going to be fine, but man, I tell you, it must have been a huge disappointment.
They hit a hole-in-one.
Yeah, they did. Boy, can you imagine?
No, that would be so disappointing.
We got Randy Staples up next with the Idaho Political Update here on Top Story. Seven 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And next hour we'll be talking about free trade agreements. We'll be talking about President Obama's executive order on amnesty that may be imminent sometime this week, and also something we haven't mentioned yet, the beheading of another person by ISIS.
An aid worker.
So, so I don't know. Interesting stuff in this world today.
And the Ebola doctor died.
That's right. The Ebola doctor died. All sorts of stuff going on. Yep. Well, there's interesting stuff going on in Idaho, and of course, to get a little more information on that, we have Randy Staples with us with the Idaho Political Update. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Randy.
Good morning.
Are you nice and warm?
I'm not sure anybody in the Northwest is.
I know.
Yeah, but it's like true. I say, come on now, what are we going to do when it gets cold? You know, we still got winter to come up.
It is cold. Oy.
Okay, so you mentioned last week and in your column that you were kind of doing a study and asking people to write in to you, kind of a study on why Idaho voters vote R almost no matter what. What did you find out?
Well, it's kind of interesting. The answer is a little bit more complicated, I think, than a lot of people, even than a lot of Republicans would like to hear. I think the answer is complex in that it's not exactly the same among a whole bunch of people. I didn't get a massive replies. The number was about 20 or so, but they were varied enough. They came from enough different points of view that in reading them and then in following things like some letters to the editor and talking with people and just generally trying to get a little bit of a sense of why people were casting the votes they were, it became real clear to me that the Republican majority is made up of a bunch of different perspectives, not just one, that each kind of wind up in similar places, but the point is different with different people, and I can give you a few examples of that.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Well, there were some that were saying that they voted for individual candidates and that they just all happened to be Republicans. I kind of wonder whether there isn't a little bit more going on when you have the number of people that are just consistently voting for just Republicans. It's kind of a remarkable consistency, coincidence there, but there were some people like that. There were those that focused on the president. There was one that said, considering the Republican tide that swept the country, with Obama saying he wasn't on the ballot but his policies were, then a vote for any Democrat was a vote for Obama's policies. Idaho voters' priorities were in step with the country and clearly showed that. Stop Obama's policies. Then there was another one that said that the ways that I disagree with various Republicans is small compared with the intense disagreement I have with the stances, the behavior, and the philosophy of the collation of interest groups known as the Democratic Party. That kind of got it not at so much at particular politicians, but at the various interest groups that were associated with Democrats. Then another one was a little bit more kind of direct or even harsh. What are Democrats as a party? They support illegal immigration, extend financial aid of all kinds to them, are pro-abortion, against right to work, do not support our military and back environmentalism, ALA, climate change. I don't want anyone in public office that holds to these views. So you've got some of that, and then you've got some that are very distrustful of pretty much anything that they see in a public sphere that doesn't match up with what they with what their perspective is. One said, I have an inherent distrust in the news media. This includes the local newspaper, which is the Times News, as they seem to work going overtime, pounding on every Republican in sight. How simplistic. I feel like we're being treated like a bunch of simpletons, too stupid to understand why we should vote for the Democrats. And then to kind of carry that logic on out, he added, and you, sir, are in the same camp. And
referring to you, right?
And you, sir, Randy.
Yeah.
You, sir.
So there were different kinds of perspectives and approaches, and I think that anybody that's looking at it seriously needs to bear in mind that not all of these 200,000 people, 200,000 plus, think exactly in the same way, which I think that a lot of people who aren't part of that group tend to think that they are. And, the flip side of that is that you see that a lot of people in that 200,000 group tend to think that the people that they're voting against all think exactly the same, which they don't.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So it really kind of cuts in both directions.
But it's kind of interesting. Did anyone even talk about, there might have been one or two that said they deviated from the Republican ticket, but, really concerned about some of the issues that were brought against their candidates. When you look at Ron Crane, or you look at Lawrence Denny, or even Otter with his scandals with CCA and the internet broadband agreement. It seems like no one's even concerned about these issues and these candidates, which I think
what I was asking for, the responses I was asking for were just those who were voting straight party tickets.
Yeah, so they didn't. It
so
didn't matter.
Those who were voting for Otter and for Ibarra and for Denny and so forth. So I wasn't even asking for responses there, but a number of the responses I got were from people who did split their tickets and wanted to talk a little bit about that, and they did raise some of the same points that you just did. So there were significant numbers of people out there, as we talked about on the show last week. There was something like 70,000 who voted for both Otter and for Jana Jones for superintendent of public instruction.
Yeah.
So there were significant numbers of vote splitters, just not enough to peel off to change the result.
I realize that 20 opinions are not enough, probably, to arrive at a conclusion. But based on what you found out with that, how long do you think it'll be before a statewide Democrat might be elected again here in the state?
Well, just looking at what the results look like, it may, unless something changes either in the way the Democratic Party and some portion of these people relate to each other, it may be a while. But I think that it's going to have to involve more than just a single campaign, because there is enough determination on the part of a very large mass of Idaho voters that they are just simply not going to vote for a Democrat, period. And that the identification with things that one way or another, things that they do not like, is just too strong. And I think that something is going to have to change in that relationship before Democrats have something closer to an even playing field.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad. When you look at some of these candidates this year, you're like, my gosh, what else do you have to do? What else do you have to do to actually vote for someone who might not be doing some of the things they're doing?
It does not relate to it clearly doesn't relate very much to the quality of the candidates or the quality of their campaign.
Yeah.
And I think inevitably you will probably see some Democrats saying that, well, looking back and saying, well, if we just had better candidates and if they ran better campaigns, we would have done better. And to which I say that's ridiculous.
I know I don't think Holly Woodings could have ran a better campaign. I think Deb Silver was great. I think these were great candidates, and it's just shocking. It has nothing to do with them. It's the voter. That's it.
That is exactly what I have been. That's what I've been saying for close to 20 years, and the evidence I think has been bearing me out because Democrats have had good candidates, they've had bad candidates, they've had people who are in between, and pretty much the same thing happens to just about all of them.
And so, there was an opinion.
That should give you an idea after a while.
Well, there was an opinion piece and I'll say the Times News. It was after the election, like, oh, if the Democrats don't win, some of these offices, I think even Jana Jones, then what's wrong with the Democrats? It's like it doesn't matter what you put up. Obviously, if people are just going to vote for an R, you can't counteract that. How can you? It doesn't matter what you do.
Well, that's why I'm saying that something has to change in that relationship between Democrats and at least some large portion, some enough people to make it competitive. Not all 200,000, but some significant piece of them. The relationship has to change in some way there in that sense before Democrats even get a hearing. Mm-hmm. Because up until that point, they can travel around the state, they can run ads, they can do all sorts of things, but if they're not being listened to, basically, mm-hmm. If they're not breaking through, then they don't realistically have a chance.
I think there's quite a bit of credence, though, in the fact that a lot of Idahoans voted against Democrats in the state to protest the National Democratic Party.
I think that's certainly a part of it. I mean, that was one message that I got that came through in a number of the people that contacted me, and I've seen it elsewhere. I don't think that's all of it, but I think it's a piece of it. Yeah. It's definitely a part of a very significant part of what's out there.
I noticed in your report you indicated that the State Tax Commission has a public records request page on its website now. To request records online. This is kind of like the Public Information Act, or what do they call that? And has this option not been available before, and why now?
Well, the doing it online option hasn't been available before. It's been doable all along for in their offices. If you wanted a public record at the tax commission, you could always go into their office and request one. This for certain types of records, because so much is kept in electronic form. This is probably just the more efficient way to go at it, and I would expect that over time most state agencies will wind up going the same way. But it doesn't change what's available in that sense. There are lots of records at the tax commission that are available, like decisions of the tax commission, things that they do. A lot of information that's related to taxes and tax collection and so on. But things like individual tax returns, of course, aren't generally available. You can request a copy of your own tax return from the tax commission. I'm not sure a lot of people know that, but if you wanted a back copy of one of your tax returns from the Idaho Tax Commission, you can request it that way, and now you can even at least get that process started online, but it's very much, of course, against the law for them to give that to somebody other than the person who filed it.
Yeah.
So, Randy, some Idaho school trustees Friday, they supported two measures to offset districts' financial concerns while rejecting a third one. They actually want to get rid of the 2/3 margin for bonds or that really failed. It's 2/3 of a majority, not just a simple majority. What do you think about this?
Well, it's something that they have supported, or that a lot of school districts have supported for many years, and it's come up for a long time, and it's been tried at the legislature year after year, and it always kind of dashes against the rocks there. It just has never succeeded in getting through. The argument is that 2/3 of the voters are basically that you don't have a majority rules situation in a true sense there. That one portion of the population has twice the voting power of the other part of the population. And I think there's some argument to that, but the legislature has never been willing to change that, and given the makeup of the 2015 legislature, I wouldn't hold my breath waiting for for it to do so.
So what are school districts supposed to do when actually, a bond fails and there's really hazardous conditions that exist in the school?
Well, the traditional response is keep on trying and try to find the point at which you can get the voter support. You can make the case strongly enough and win enough of the voter support to do it. And sometimes districts go back to voters time after time, 3 or 4 or 5 times, and maybe eventually hit it. But it's
Randy,
a real
we're out of time.
Oh, sorry, Randy.
I have to cut you off, but I guess we'll talk to you next Monday.
Okay, we'll
Stay
talk then.
warm.
All right, thanks, sir.
Bye.
Randy Staples from Reidenbaugh Press at reidenbaugh.com. Look him up. And this is Top Story. We're going to talk about free trade agreements
welcome
next
back
here
to
on
Top
Story.
Story.
736-0300, always the number to call. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Kelly. Same to you.
I see we're warming up, and now we have a blistering 15. So things are getting warmer all the time.
I am definitely walking out without my coat today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's shirt sleeve weather, man. I'm going to go home,
man.
sit in the shade outside and sip a cool one,
Take off my fuzzy boots.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we have with us this morning a gentleman by the name of Tom Munns. Tom is the statewide coordinator for the John Birch Society. He will be in Twin Falls tomorrow evening to present a PowerPoint presentation on why some of these so-called trade agreements should be stopped to save our liberty and independence as a free nation. One of the ones that's being discussed right now is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The U.S. is participating in negotiations of the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement with 11 other Asia-Pacific countries, a trade agreement that will open markets, set high-standard trade rules, and address 21st century issues in the global economy. By doing so, the Trans-Pacific Partnership will promote jobs and growth in the United States and across the Asia-Pacific region. Mr. Munns, first of all, thanks for being on the show this morning.
Thank you.
Explain to us, if you would, the Trans-Pacific Partnership and why that would be a bad thing.
Well, basically, it's first of all that being part of the John Birch Society, we focus on many different issues, and so I don't want to come across as the know-it-all expert in every particular topic. What I do know, I can share with you, and the facts are irrefutable. And basically, the Trans-Pacific Partnership and partnerships like that are quite simple. To summarize the Trans-Pacific Partnership, it is a unification or the creation of European or what they call Soviet bloc nations. In this particular case, they're going to take the Pacific Rim nations and they're going to go ahead and create a bloc, much like they did with the European Union. And so basically,
when you say a bloc, in what way?
A bloc meaning like well, we're probably old enough to remember the Europe before it was the European Union of member states. They were each sovereign nations in their own right. They had their own currency. They had their own economy. They had their own form of government. They had their own courts, and they had their own, they were allowed to be able to run and do as they felt fit as a sovereign nation. The merger, the 28 now member states that have joined the European Union have been deceived into doing that, and they have lost, every particular member state now has lost their sovereignty and their ability to even vote. They're not even allowed to vote for people in their government now because they have a European Commission, they have a European court, they have a European bank, and so basically what they've done is they've created a supranational government.
So you're telling me that Australia, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, Vietnam, Brunei, they're all going to lose their sovereignty and be part of one bloc? Is that what you're saying based on this agreement?
Yes, I am actually saying that, and when we step into a little bit further, looking at the TTIP or the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, it actually takes 237 years of independence that America has celebrated, and it flushes it down the toilet, meaning the fact that we have just co-opted ourselves back into the grip of Europe, not only England this time, but the 28 member states under the European Union. So this is very dangerous. People are so focused on the bottom line now. I guess the best way to explain this is that I go into to large corporations and I've communicated about this tremendous support for these things because people are looking at the bottom line. And what we've really done in America today, through our own ignorance of the Constitution and checks and balances and separations of powers, is ultimately said that we are all about the money. If government can give to me, then we're okay. If the government can give me a job, if the government can do this, and so everybody's out looking for the bottom line and how to be able to generate revenues in a failing economy, and nobody is looking. Very few people that I know even are looking at the long-term consequences of these actions. And the long-term consequence really, as adults, we're no longer the safeguards of our children's liberty. We are the ones that are actually going to destroy that.
So one of the objects of the Trans-Pacific Partnership in particular is to cut down some of these trade barriers, like some of these huge tariffs that the United States has to pay in order to trade with another country. So I kind of see that as a good thing.
Yeah, and most people do, and that's the difficult part of this thing. The first part of the difficulty is the fact that when I go and I travel the state and talk to people about this is the last thing really people are interested in. I mean, if I could sell it off at the BSU game, I think, I'd be a winner. But see, here's the thing: they think by abolishing these duties and these imposts and things, that it's actually a good thing. Well, perhaps it would be, and you might still think that it is. The problem is look at what it does from a political perspective and a governmental perspective. Let's say that I can go ahead and offer, let's say I can make things, I don't know, you can pick any topic. Let's say I can sell you something off that's very good, but the downside of that you fail to understand is that, your job as a parent, well, at least in my view, is to be able to ensure that our kids have some sort of freedom, that they can live, that they can enjoy like we did. If we're going to be selling everything down the road for money, so we have to, you either choose the dollar sign or you choose freedom. And that's really where we're at right now.
I guess I'm a little confused in how this is dealing with freedom. I mean, right now the United States ships more than 1.9 billion in goods to these countries every day, and basically they're saying U.S. poultry right now is facing a 40% tariff in Malaysia. So after this agreement, the tariff would be reduced to zero. I guess I don't understand where freedom comes in. I mean, I always hear oh, you're opening up the marketplace. Why would a 40% tariff all of a sudden equate to freedom? I'm missing the connection here.
Well, the trade agreements have been known to be at least 29 chapters that we know of, and very few of them, even the ones that are involved in these things, are only allowed to be able to take glances at the full magnitude of these trade agreements. For example, one of them is 29 chapters. 5 of them only deal with trade. The rest of them do with environmentalism. They deal with establishing a world police. They have the establishment of a block court. So the thing about it is they're the move for this. And here's the, I can't say it any better than this. You either have to look at things through the dollar and about the economy. So America's all about the dollar now. We've become just a corporation, and we're just corporate employees that just want to work and have a job and all that. But the problem is if you look at it that way, you'll never understand what's going to happen with the freedom that you're going to lose. When you have joined into basically what they call it is political and economic integration. When you join in with other bloc countries, you have to set rules and regulations for those. Well, the question then becomes, well, who's the ruler? Is America willing to be able to sacrifice its independence and its constitution and all of its traditions and the future of our children and everything because of the fact that we have great trade relations? I mean, the consequence is unbelievable. If we did any research into this, we would know that the European Union, we've had people in Parliament that have said that we have been deceived into this because we have had when they created the European Constitution, the people in the member states weren't even allowed to vote on it. So it's a definite paradigm shift. It's very difficult to try to explain in just a few minutes on the radio, which is why I'm trying to do presentations. I would urge anybody to be able to come. I tried to keep the presentation short enough to where we could utilize a great Q&A session, but these are very complex. There's a lot of information. I'll have free magazines for you there, at least until they run out, that will fully exhaust what I can't explain on the phone. But this is an absolute detriment to American liberty because it undermines our present form of government. I mean, look what it did. Where in our Constitution, if we're going to claim freedom and liberty, where does it say anywhere that we should be able to join into these foreign treaties that destroy American liberty? Article 6, where the treaties are the supreme law of the land? Well, yeah, but the treaties have to be consistent with the Constitution, not undermine it. And most people don't know this.
So apparently on this particular one that we're talking about, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, is that the one that copies of the trade agreement are difficult to get a hold of?
With the information that I'm being slammed with right now, I can't tell you which one it is. All I can tell you is that any treaty is very, very is a tremendous compilation of material, and both are not that the joiners, the corporations and things are not being able to see.
In your position, what should we be doing instead of these trade agreements? What should we be doing?
Well, what is trade? I mean, if free trade is Kelly and I decide that you have a car to buy and I'm going to go ahead and buy the car, it's a pretty simple transaction, isn't it? I mean, what do we really need to do? We need to establish certain rules. If you don't pay me, then you're going to go ahead and deal with this issue or deal with that issue. I mean, we've already got a constitution to be able to deal with that.
But we're talking about international trade, and international, when they're charging you tariffs, it's not the same as just Kelly and I purchasing a car. I mean, this is what's going on. We're paying huge tariffs in these different countries. It's an agreement so you don't pay those. I'm missing your point altogether. I really am. I'm having a hard time with this. It's not just our Constitution. We're now dealing with other countries and trading with them. I'm having a hard time.
Constitution, and if we're an independent nation, should we be involved in complex trade agreements that nobody can even read?
So you don't think we should? Should we trade with other countries? Should we even trade with other countries, according to you?
Yes, we should.
Okay, what do you do with the tariffs that are
actually? We should not integrate economies, and we should not integrate through we should not politically or economically integrate with other nations.
So apparently,
the trade should be left to the trade. Why are there 29? Why are there 29 chapters to some of these trade agreements, and only 5 of them only have to do with trade, and the rest of them undermine our courts and undermine our, try to create local police or international police forces and everything else.
So, apparently, in your presentation, you go into this in more detail. Like you say, it's kind of difficult to explain it in a 15-minute radio program.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, what I've had to do is I've had to take an hour and a half. I've had to take an hour and a half PowerPoint because it seems that the average attention span of some people. I mean, you start getting this. If I start going into this and did an hour and a half presentation, people are bored stiff, and I just lose the attention. So what I've tried to do is to be able to take the major parts of this and give people a tidbit of what's going on. I know people are busy. I want people to be able to get the root of the issue. Come get the magazine. Come buy a book if you want to buy the book. Learn a little bit more about the topic. And then, Jill, you can decide for yourself if you think that it's detrimental. Because, like I said, I'm coming from a much different perspective than most people in Idaho.
Well, before we run out of time, I want to tell folks that that's at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, CSI Taylor Building, room 277. No admission charge for Tom Munns. It should be an interesting presentation, Tom. We appreciate you being on the show today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, talk to you soon. This is Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX. And we're back.
We're back.
7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Don't forget, my retirement party is coming up this Friday.
How can we possibly forget? You're reminding us every 2 minutes.
I know. I want
people to be there.
I want you to stop by and see me. Okay.
The pressure. Now it's like a pride thing if no one shows up.
It is, I know.
After 45 years in radio.
I'm a little worried that,
no one's going to come?
Nobody will come.
Oh, Kelly.
Other than my
They like you. They
close
really,
friends
really
and
like
relatives.
you. Pull a Sally Field.
What? Yeah, right.
You like me. You really, really like me.
What if we gave a party and nobody came, Free food. Hey.
More food for you, Cal.
Yeah,
Big takeout box. Don't forget to bring a Tupperware.
Anyway,
Poor
this
Kelly.
Friday, 5 until 8 o'clock at the Turf Club.
Turf Club.
Yeah.
Come on out. Don't let Kelly feel like no one loves him after 45 years.
Friday's $100 instant winning name in the Word of the Day, which is brought to you by the Happy Landing Restaurant, is Josh Russell.
Josh Russell, congratulations.
And your $100 Word of the Day for today is ticket. Ticket. Ticket.
Oh, ticket.
Ticket.
I thought you said ticked.
No, ticket.
T-I-C-K.
Then I tried to spell it, and you still didn't hear it. Ticket.
E-T.
Ticket.
Ticket.
Like, you don't have to have a ticket on an airplane in order to eat at the Happy Landing Restaurant.
That's right. Or if you drive 7 miles under the speed limit, you might get a ticket.
Yeah. So there you go.
But I got a warning.
at the Happy Landing, if you're a first-time visitor and you tell them you heard about it right here on News Radio 1310 KLIX, and you purchase a drink or a meal, they'll give you a free piece of homemade pie.
Free pie. This is what Kelly likes. Free pie.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So go to our website, newsradio1310.com, click on Word of the Day, type in ticket.
Ticket.
Ticket. Listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, you win $100.
That's how easy that one is.
Yeah. 7360300 is the number to call. We're gonna talk here in a minute about President Obama is apparently going to sign an executive order probably this week that would allow up to 5 million undocumented immigrants to avoid deportation. We'll talk about that, but first we got a caller. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning to both of you guys. How you doing?
We're doing
good.
swell.
How are you?
Great, thanks. Hey, Kelly, just wanted to tell you I appreciate you being on the radio all these years and listened to you a long time, and congratulations on your retirement.
Well, thank you, sir. Are you going to be able to come to the party?
Possibly.
Oh,
Possibly.
Please come.
I got to check the kids' sports schedules.
Okay,
There's
well,
no sports
tell
on Friday night. It's
to
freezing out.
postpone the sports things. You got to go to my party.
It's a holiday.
Just want to make a quick comment about Tom Munns there. I think I just caught kind of the tail end, but I'm very familiar with what he's talking about because I've followed the new paradigm, the new world rulemaking process for some time. And one of the things that woke me up back in 1999 was Jim Marr's book called Rule by Secrecy. And one of the things that he talks about in it, that's right after the World Trade Organization agreements were signed across the world. But in the preamble of the World Trade Organization, which is basically the executive summary, which, it is the most important document in the entire document, it states in there that world economic activity supersedes all national sovereignty. So world economic activity is numero uno, and all state lines, country lines are no more as long as it supports world economic activity. And one of the things I studied back in college in the early 90s was NAFTA and GATT, and it was taught, then is that this was a great thing. And there's been numerous parliament members, Congress members that have come out and talked against it. Of course, they didn't win re-election for the following term, but and then to fast forward to 2008, there was a thing called the Security and Prosperity Partnership, which was an agreement between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And in order for that treaty to be made into law in all three countries, they had to have 4 meetings, which they, of course, did. And anyway, it's a very similar thing to what Obama has just agreed to and what he's just put our country under. And I think the more people wake up to realize that what's happening, I think that we will eventually be able to do something and throw these supposed leaders out that are not following the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, interesting stuff. And I know that, all this stuff is complicated, and all these agreements, they look good on the outside, and I have no idea what they say on the inside. But, when you're cutting down all of these tariffs that we have to pay in order to sell our goods to some other country, that sounds like a good thing. but you don't know what's in the fine print, and so.
And maybe the sovereignty thing where the international trade is different. I mean, now we have the internet. I mean, you sell stuff beyond our borders. You sell stuff beyond everywhere. I mean, how can you have sovereignty in
But the danger
commerce?
is in some of these agreements that we're signing with other countries. And I know the goal of the world order is for a one world government, and we're headed there every day. So, it wouldn't surprise me
you know
if
what?
he's absolutely
I don't know.
right. And I know you think I'm crazy, and I have two heads and all that stuff, but I don't think so. But anyway, we'll be right back here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here on Top Story. The folks at Canyon Pond want you to stop by. It might be cold outside.
And it's cold inside.
Oh, look, you got your little...
I put my little gloves on. They're like half little gloves. I bought them at the Harvest Festival.
Yeah.
$5, so my little tips are exposed.
Isn't that sweet? Well,
Yeah.
you said, okay, well,
fingers
let
are
me
cold.
finish
Finish
Canyon
your ad.
Pond here.
Okay.
Yeah. I was going to say it might be cold outside, but it's warm and clean inside at Canyon Pond, right across from Will's Toyota on Shoshone Street. They got everything in there you would expect a pawn shop to have, except a lot of dirt. I mean, it's a clean store. It really is. I wouldn't be surprised if I was in there eating a donut. And,
Which could happen.
And dropped a piece of it on the floor. I would not feel nearly as bad about picking it up,
5-second
brushing
roll?
it off, and eating it as I would at some of the other ponds.
Yeah, as opposed to some
5-second.
places.
I think at Canyon Pond you could probably apply the 10-second rule.
Wow.
Instead of the 5 or the 2
It is
second.
clean.
There's the 2-second, the 5-second, the 10-second rule.
I thought you were going to say if you drop it on the floor, you'd be able to find it,
Well, that too.
which is always a plus.
Yeah, and the folks at Canyon Pond, they've got all kinds of guns. They've got all kinds of, they've got jewelry there. They got gold. They got watches. They got rings. Hey, if you're looking for a wedding ring or an engagement ring without paying for the bazillions of dollars for a new one, check out the ones they got there. Very reasonable. And they'd love to have you come in and join them there at Canyon Pond, right across from Will's Toyota on Shoshone Street. Okay, it's apparently this week, this is from the Washington Post, reports are rampant that President Obama will sign an executive order as soon as this week that will allow up to 5 million undocumented immigrants to avoid deportation. Signing such an order would have explosive political consequences. It would not only reshape the near-term fights in Congress, but also have a potentially profound effect on the two parties' national coalitions heading into the 2016 election and beyond. Republicans have made it clear that if Obama goes forward, it would be the equivalent of giving the middle finger to their incoming majority, and by extension, the American public, which helped the GOP gain seats in the House and Senate on November 4th. So essentially, they are saying if Obama does this, it'll be going against the majority of the people in this country today.
Really, because the GOP ran on immigration. It's amazing how they didn't...
No, let's get one thing
they
straight.
They didn't run on immigration,
That's
did
right.
they?
They ran on all of that stuff.
On ISIS
They
and
ran on
Ebola.
all of that stuff because
and
the
border
American
security.
people, again, were
Please.
saying, and I don't know why you can't understand this, they were saying, stop Obama. Stop Obama. That's why they are there now.
Really, is that
they
why?
Ran
but the
on all of that.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
Yes,
they didn't
they
run
did.
on that. In our state, they're running against Obama, and they elect a superintendent. That's anyway. But
Yeah.
come on, give me a break.
For
Yeah,
crying out loud.
The thing of it is they didn't scream when Reagan did it or H.W. Bush did it, and a lot of this is extending citizenship to people whose kids are Americans, so the parents don't live in fear that they are going to be deported if they live here longer than 5 years.
Let me just say this.
That's what a lot of these immigration
Let me just
things
say
are.
this.
What?
Part of the argument in this whole deal, let's say that all of these things that the president wants to sign into law are wonderful and great and fantastic.
What?
Every one of them are just wonderful. He's taking it upon himself to make these decisions.
Yeah.
If the people of America don't want them, no matter how great they might be, he shouldn't be doing them. That's the argument right there. This country is run by the system that we have set up and not by a king. He is setting himself up as king by signing the executive orders and doing these things against the will of the people.
Every
not over the bill
has
itself.
done
It's
executive orders.
But
Everyone
not
has.
On this scale. On this scale.
He did DACA during a lame duck session.
Scale?
Yeah. What is wrong on this scale? He did a lot during the lame duck session last time. President Obama. President Obama.
Okay, then
they've done
again,
a lot.
I rest my case.
People have done a lot
to do that.
No, the Republicans don't.
That's why people elected more Republicans than almost ever
that
in
is
this
not
last.
Why.
Yes, it is why.
No, it is
How
not.
can you ignore that fact?
Why do you ignore the fact that when people elected President Obama twice, they were electing him because of the Affordable Care Act? Yet you guys have ignored that and tried to repeal that 56 times now. So, I mean, everyone's ignored that election.
They've had 6 years of it. They're saying stop.
No, they aren't.
They are.
Really?
How can you not see
no
that?
one ran on the Affordable Care Act. They actually said they backed away from it.
It was all of it.
No, it's not.
Top story. You're on the air. Good morning. Whoops. Go ahead.
Hit the right button.
Good morning. I voted the way I did because I wanted him to stop everything he was doing. I've never seen a president do an executive order when it comes to immigration. It is wrong. It has big implications, and if he's wrong in his little fit in doing it, it's going to have dire consequences. He needs to think this through and quit being a man-child.
He needs to quit being a king is what he needs to stop doing.
No, every president has done it. He has some of the fewest executive orders than anyone.
But it's the magnitude of the ones that he has done.
He can do it.
I know he can do it, but he shouldn't. That's the thing. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. Talking about the president who may be ready to sign an executive order on immigration this week, which would essentially allow up to 5 million undocumented immigrants to avoid deportation in this country. I maintain that the recent election, voting in all the Republicans, was a message to the president to stop doing what you were doing. Jill, on the other hand, refuses to see that and think it's just a bunch of stupid people voting for something that because they don't like
put
the
words
president.
in my mouth.
Okay, go ahead. You tell us why.
Yeah, well, we even heard some of our things. They didn't run against what their positions were, and the House or the Senate passed an immigration bill over 500 days ago. Boehner has not allowed it to be voted on. And you know what? You have to deal with this. It's ridiculous. And Ronald Reagan did sign executive orders for amnesty of immigrants, along with other Republican presidents.
And it was supposed to be the last one, if I remember. This would be the last.
He's not
that was
king.
said at the time.
He's not king. He wasn't in office again. But you have to deal with this problem. And since the Republicans are ignoring it for some reason, he's going to do it. And I say kudos to him. Get it done.
All right, Top Story. You were on the air. What do you think?
Well, I think Jill's escaping the fact. The fact is the other presidents did do it when they said that they were going to seal the border, which was never done, but yet the money was spent. And then he's doing this on executive order, and that's not right at all, period. Jill, already today, twice you've talked about law when it comes to drugs and stuff like that.
So I mean, he's entitled to do executive orders, and the other presidents have done it during executive orders.
Why do we call them illegal immigrants?
Kyle, do you really think? Why don't we deal with immigration that's happening here?
Jill, please.
Give me a break.
Why is it called illegal immigrants?
You know what?
Because they came across illegally.
And you know what? Here's a news flash. Not everyone is crossing the Rio Grande to get into the U.S. 40% have overstayed their visas. The deal is people have American children that are here. And do you care whether their parents are going to be deported and separated from the kids? What kind of a crisis is that? What kind of a country is that?
They are the ones who created that situation.
And our employers and our companies have created it as well. How many in this Magic Valley hire illegals, and they know they're illegal, to work in their dairies and their farms, and they're giving them fake Social Security numbers. They have paid $3 billion into Social Security. These people will never collect. We are part of the problem, and part of this plan.
Who's giving them illegal?
Are you kidding me?
Social Security
Some
numbers?
of these companies, and I know that for a fact.
I don't think the companies can do that.
They have done it. They have done it. Don't
Really?
say yes, and I know for a fact. So,
wow.
Yeah. Oh, this is a news flash. So part of this plan is to hold employers accountable. Part of it is to make parents of kids that are Americans to get in line for citizenship. They're not getting citizenship right away. They have to pay back taxes. They have to have criminal backgrounds. They have to learn English. There's a lot of things to it. So,
and you really think that's going to happen? You really think they're going to pay their back taxes?
So let's just ignore the problem that we have, because the Republicans haven't dealt with it. We've had a plan for 500 days.
Here's the deal. We're talking about the merits of the immigration plan. That is so far removed from what we are talking about. We're talking about a president doing something that the people of the country don't want him to do.
That other GOP presidents have done.
About. That doesn't make any difference.
That
doesn't make any difference. The people now do not want him to do this.
That is not true.
It most certainly is true.
There are polls or immigration where people want to deal with.
That's why all the Republicans are going to be in office come January, Jill.
It was not why.
Obama vote. And for you to not see that, you are completely blind to the fact about what elections are for.
Oh, give me a break. But we've had 2 elections and he's been in president twice, and you've ignored all that.
They've had enough. They say it's time to stop.
There was no mandate.
We've tried this. It's not working. We've got to stop this guy.
There are polls out there that want to deal with immigration. So you know what? You want to lose the next White House? Go ahead. But you have to deal with immigration. Stop putting your head in the sand, and Boehner take it out of his desk, because that bill would pass.
If this had been a presidential election, you would have lost the White House.
I don't think so.
Are you kidding me?
And we will see in 2016.
My goodness. 736.
Midterms, always the other party wins, but we'll see in 2016, buddy.
7360300. Top story. You're on the air.
Hello. I don't know a farmer or dairyman who would hire an illegal and
really?
and know about it. I know that there are illegals who have fake green cards, and they get hired because they don't know they're fake.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know a farmer or dairyman who would hire an illegal, and I don't know their accountants who don't ask for the documentation. And so I know there's illegals being hired. I don't know anybody in this valley who's doing it. I'm sure there might be. But if you know some, there is a Homeland Security office right there on Addison, and you should tell. Because we need to secure the borders. I married my wife is Philippine, and we had to go through a song and dance to get her into the country, just like anybody else does legally. There are Mexicans who took 10 years to get here to work here legally, and now they're going to give amnesty to people. Well, we're supposed to have equal protection under the law. That's not equal protection under the law.
Well really? What if you look at the conditions? They aren't just going to the front of the line.
Here's the Huckabee Report. Sorry, Jill. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell and Reed, Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger, financial advisors. And the number is 736-6563.
I'm going to miss all your Kelly-wisms, your little Kelly-isms of wisdom, little nuggets of wisdom you give me at the break.
Well, shoot, you don't listen to them.
I have to listen to them.
You don't put them into practice.
Oh, I guess I just wasn't born with it. Fine, Kelly.
Hey, you've heard me talking about the Certiset from Farmore of Idaho. Well, this is a new system. Solid set system that allows you to water almost to blooming. And when blooming time comes, you can start cutting immediately without the need to relocate miles of pipe. You just place the pipe in the guides and start cutting. And as soon as the last bale is picked up, you can get right back to irrigating and get across your field quickly. Now, you can find out more about this Certiset from Farmore of Idaho. I don't know a whole lot about it. I do know that this is the latest thing in technology, and technology is really overtaking agriculture. And they're making more food for us for a growing world, and that's with the help of Farmore of Idaho and innovations such as this Certiset. So get a hold of them at 324-3341. You can also find them online at farmoreofidaho.com. They would love to hear from you, and you tell them that you heard about them from Kelly and Jill.
That's right. Well, has it warmed up at all?
No, it's not. Well, a little bit, actually. 18. What was it when we started? It was like
11?
13 or something like that. I think it was 13, so it's warmed up 5 degrees.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you when it's really going to be hot, though. That's this Friday night from 5 to 8 o'clock at the Turf Club. Please come to my party.
Please come to Kelly.
Yeah.
Make him do a Sally Field. You like me. You really, really like me. I want you to say that.
Okay.
You like me.
At the peak when everybody is in there, which might be 5 or 6,
Yeah.
I'll say, you like me. You
really like me.
There's going to be hors d'oeuvres, and you don't have to pay to get in.
It's a no-host
It's a
bar.
party. That's a no-host bar. Just come on down, say hi. You don't have to stay for the whole time. Just come on in and say hi, and
say goodbye. And here's a
why didn't you
newsflash.
play that song that I requested that one time?
You don't even
Dirty,
have to
rotten
agree
scoundrel.
with. They don't even have to agree with you politically.
No.
Say
You don't
goodbye
have to agree
anyway.
with me politically.
Actually, that'd give you motivation to say goodbye.
That's right. I'm so glad you're going.
I know. Can you imagine my going away party? There'll be lines out the door. I'm so glad you're out here.
It says Friday night, 5 to 8 at the Turf Club, my retirement party. So I really, really, really want to see
And also
that.
sign up for the lunch because you can have lunch, the last lunch available with Kelly and me at Canyon Crest. The last.
Yes, the very last
Play
in the
word
history
of the day, games.
of the world.
Add your points together.
See you tomorrow. We got Steve Millington with the Twin Falls Republicans and anything
Grant
else?
Lobes.
Oh, we got Grant
Can't
Lobes
forget
tomorrow, too.
So
That's
for free
right.
legal advice,
That's
call
right.
in.
See you then. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Kel.